Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, you are in store for another episode of Game Chat with Tom and Lucas. I'm Lucas, this is Tom, and how are we doing, Tom? How's it going?
We're doing pretty good, my friend. We're doing pretty good. Getting through the week, working hard. I'm excited. I'm going golfing in a few hours. Hopefully, the golf will not be cut short by the elements, which is looking like what's going to happen. But, in the meantime, been playing a bunch of new games, reading about some gaming news, doing it up. How about you, man? How's student life treating you?
Student light is very studious and time consuming.
One would imagine.
So, but we're getting through it. Almost halfway done with this here fall term, and then I'll have a month off to do some shenanigans and get up to no good. So just got to stick with it. And hey, if your golfing gets interrupted due to weather conditions, maybe you just pop in a little golf story.
Yeah, I mean, it'll always be sunny in Golf Story unless you're in the snowy world, but they don't have to worry about real world elements.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of virtual sports games.
Of course. Of course. Well, what you been seeing? What you been playing? Anything out there in the news lately that's caught your eye? I know you haven't had much time. And when you do have time, it's devoted to diving back into the lands between. But anything else you've been up to, homie? Anything you see?
Well, it is now all but confirmed that an Elden Ring will have a DLC.
Okay.
But we just don't know when and where. It's assumed to be pretty soon, and the reason it's all but guaranteed is that the latest update, I guess, people that are going into like gamer files and whatnot, like the nitty gritty, found things that are correlated to like map codings that are not in the base game, which would indicate like a new map is somewhere. So.
Oh, okay. I see. Like a new map entirely?
Well, something that would be like it might just be like the one of the underground sections.
Oh, okay.
Like
I
something
see.
that is correlated to, like something that would require like a map piece.
Okay. Yeah.
A decently chunked area, but yeah, we're not talking like
A new area. I get
Yeah.
what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
That
So-
makes more sense. I thought you meant like an entirely new map. And I was like, that map is already 3 maps put together. I don't know how they're going to do that, but okay.
I wouldn't put it past From Software to pull some shit like that, just to really give you the most bang for your buck.
Oh, I mean, they already basically put Dark Souls 3 into the underground portion of that game, or Dark Souls 4. Yeah.
Dark Souls 4.
It's a bad game anyway.
Dark
who
Souls
cares?
4?
Elden Ring, all the
Oy.
games. Who cares?
Fans of the show, please rally against Tom for this take that he now does every show.
Listen, I'm just trying to put the energy out there that this is not Game of the Year quality, and yeah, that's why I'm putting that energy out there.
We should make a bet sometime soon. And
We will be.
I
We
will
will
reap
be.
the benefits once Elden Ring gets all the awards.
Once they drop those nominations for the Game Awards, we're going to be getting into some Game Awards based content here on Game Chat. We'll be probably live streaming along, or at least watching along with the awards out there, making wagers and bets on who will win what awards, as we have been doing the past couple of years. So might as well make a big eventized thing out of it. You know what I'm saying? You know what game you should try out, though? Now that you're a student once again and have little precious time, and I think you'll really like it. Have you heard of Marvel's Snap?
No, Tom, I'm not playing Marvel Snap.
Why? It's so much fun. It is addicting. It is very addicting. I will say that. Folks, this game came out literally, I think, this week. It finally dropped. Free to play, mobile game. If you're a fan of card games, which I know Lucas is, and deck building, then this is the game for you. each game is only 6 turns, and like the games, each game is designed to run like max like 5 minutes. So you're in, you're out, you're unlocking new cards, new variants of cards, you're building cool decks, you're kicking ass. I'm unstoppable in this game. I have maybe lost like 3 times. You could be hopping in there. They don't really have like any sort of like guild system or way to play with your friends in any way. So maybe that'll come in future content from the Marvel Snap team, but I think you'd really like this game. Have you like looked into it like at all?
I knew it was a card-based Marvel game for your phone, but it was hard enough for me to delete 2K off of my
That's
iPad.
fair. That's fair. If you get into this game, it might tank your grades.
Like my phone just
quickly.
having access to the internet has proved to be like problem enough. But hey, we're like 6 weeks out from having that break, so maybe I'll give it a go at some point this year.
Yeah, man. That's a game you could get into. A game you shouldn't get into apparently is Gotham Knights. Not to like switch to other games in the news, but that apparently is not good. And I really was hoping it would be good, because maybe over the break we could get some like multiplayer, Robin Nightwing action going. But apparently that game's trash. So
Is it trash, or people were just annoyed that it was like not 60 frames?
well, I
'Cause
mean,
I know that came out recently, and then like people were canceling their pre-orders.
the reviews across the board, well, along with like those performance issues and the weird like development choices they make, I hear it's just not fun. Like it's not great. Like the story's okay enough to get people interested, I guess, but it just sounds like it's a pretty like mid game at best, which is a shame considering the Arkham games being so successful across the board. It is sad to see that this I don't know, it just doesn't sound like they really know what they want to be. Like they're jumping around doing a lot of different things with the different characters, where it's becoming more harmful than it should be like benefiting the game. Sites have called it a content checklist, accusing it, quote, of not knowing what it wants to be. NPR said for all its potential, the game falls flat. IGN gave it a 5 out of 10, which is wild because it's a huge, giant AAA game that just, usually you don't see these, right? Usually, like, even the, like, not great ones are getting, like, 6s and 7s in that range, but this is just getting 4s and 5s, like, across the board, so makes me sad, man. Makes me sad. As a huge Batman fan.
Is the deal with that game like you're just playing as all of Batman's like side pieces?
Yeah, basically Batman died, and
Wow.
you have Batgirl, Robin, Nightwing, and Red Hood like picking up the pieces to fight against the villains in Gotham. And I guess it just doesn't hit. It just doesn't hit. Some of these some of these, yeah, like Games Radar says, compelling game in Gotham Knights, hidden away behind a messy UX, needless crafting and customization systems, combat mechanics that have been stretched paper thin to accommodate the 4 heroes. It just it seems like across the board they just can't get it right, which is a shame. They also had weird writing and dialogue choices and music choices. Like, you'll be able to find it out there. There's a clip of them using like a weird remix of Livin' La Vida Loca in a big fight scene, and it just doesn't seem to work the best. But maybe the next one will get it right from the actual Arkham developers. That Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League one, that would be cool.
When does that come out?
I don't know. I forget.
We might be waiting a while.
For in a while, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, man. A lot of games lately coming out, and a lot of big games just not meeting the cut. Gotham Knights, Overwatch 2. At the end of the day, you just got to turn back to Marvel Snap and realize the greatness that they put into this wonderful game, and just really level up them decks and collect them variants, folks. This is going to become a Marvel Snap podcast in the future. We're going to stop talking about Elden Ring, God of War, the big ticket games that you all care about, and we're going to really lean into Marvel Snap.
Marvel Snap and real life golfing will be the only two topics covered. A game that's probably not going to be a massive disappointment is God of War Ragnarok. And we are just about a week away, or no, I'm sorry, 2 weeks away from its release on November 9th. A lot of people hyped for this game. A lot of people are very excited to find out what happens next for Kratos and Boy in the stellar story crafted by Santa Monica in the first game.
Absolutely. I'm very pumped for this game. Already got the pre-order. You know, I'll come home from my Las Vegas trip filled with gambling and alcohol and really just conquer the 9 realms with my boy and my talking head, you know?
That is one of the things. We might have access to all 9 realms in this iteration, whereas the first game I believe was just 5. So, but that's, a lot of speculation and predictions about what we will and won't be able to do or have in said games. So we wanted to kind of get you all hyped by giving our thoughts and predictions on pretty much anything important involving the game, whether that be story, gameplay, or just whatever else we can think of.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want to? What should we touch upon first, Tom?
Well, I guess before we really dive, into our not our preview, but our hype levels, our predictions, our whatnots. One thing I'm very excited for is to just see how the PS5 really takes it up a notch with this game. The biggest thing about the PS5 is all these next gen enhancements, be it performance, immersiveness, what have you, that really try to do just that, immerse you into the game more. So I have all the things, I got the 3D Pulse wireless headset to capture the 3D audio. So I'm excited to see how they use that. I've been very impressed with the PS5 exclusive games that I've played so far that have done that. Same with the haptics on the DualSense, right? For example, I played Ratchet and Clank, A Rift in Time, or Rift Apart, Rift in Time. Can't remember the name of that title off the top of my head. Great game from Insomniac, but that was, I think, one of the few purely PS5 exclusive games I've played, and they did great in that area, right? The sound's spectacular wearing the headset. It was my preferred way to play always. And the things they did on the controllers with the triggers, just for every different gun you might have and shoot, everything felt different. Same when you were playing Astrobot Rescue Mission, whatever the tech demo that comes with it, right? With the PS5. That was crazy too. So granted, this game is also coming out on PS4, but they keep talking about how they have built this game with the PS5 features in mind. So I'm really excited to see not only the upped frame rate and resolution on the PS5 on a 4K TV, but I'm also excited to feel what that Leviathan axe is going to feel like when I throw it, bring it back, plunge it into the neck of some squirrely monster. I really want to feel Thor's head cave in when I split it with my axe. I really am just excited to see what the PS5 is going to be able to do to really crank it up an extra mile for this game. What do you think? Do you think it's gonna take full advantage, or do you think it's gonna be a little kind of cheap, gimmicky, not really all there, just because it is also being developed with the PS4 in mind?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the latter. Not that it'll be gimmicky, but I think they might not put as much focus into it as they could, just because they are making it for PS4 to support those loyal patrons that got the game the first go around. So might not see them dive fully in as much as they could.
From a report published on PlayStation blog about 2 days ago, the hands-on gameplay report, right? They say specifically regarding the haptic immersion that, quote, Santa Monica Studio has taken full advantage of the DualSense's wireless controller haptics. One sequence involves dog sledding away from a violent avalanche. The DualSense controller's haptics thrummed in their hands, conveying both a deep rumble of rushing land and lighter clumps of snow tumbling about, and in combat, the Leviathan axe packs an extra visceral punch. I can't read. And when the boomerang weapon is recalled, the haptics gradually swell until that actually sounds cool. So it sounds like the haptics are gonna like do some cool shit and then like pop once you get the axe back. I just like that was like one of the most satisfying parts about the original game is just like throwing the axe, calling it back to you. So like if they can somehow make that even cooler, like I am all in, baby. The only game that might do better in its use of haptics is Sonic Frontiers that is going to come out a day before, but we'll see. That one's going to be hard to beat.
Axe throw and recall was something that on my first playthrough I almost used exclusively for the first like 2 hours on the Give Me God Award difficulty.
Just tossing?
Just because it's like anytime someone would get close to me, it was just like I would just die, as you know. But I have heard that it's very combat is very similar to the first one, at least in terms of like mechanics. So and obviously we'll start out with the Blades of Chaos instead of getting them halfway through the game. So I don't expect to have as much trouble in the beginning as I did with the first game. But I lost my train of thought, Tom.
Well, speaking of the combat, you know, other than just like having the blades like from the get-go, what are some of the things that you're excited for to get into with these new combat options that we've seen so far?
Yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to mention. So one of the things, not complaints, but things I noticed with the first game is you use the shield like a shit ton at the beginning because you just have the axe as your primary weapon, and any enemy that is ice or frost based, the axe doesn't do anything against, so you're forced to use your shield and like hand to hand skills. So that's great at the beginning, but once you get the Blades of Chaos, like aside from like parrying, the shield you basically just don't use anymore because the blades are much more effective against those types of enemies. But I have seen that for this game there will be multiple shields, and not just like skins, but different kinds of shields that do offer different combat advantages.
Yeah.
I think that's a great decision just because it puts more emphasis on the shield itself and what kind you're using, what you can do with it. So that I'm looking forward to because the first game, unless you pre-ordered it, you don't get any new skins until like the end of the game.
For the shield, you're saying?
Yeah, it was just you run the same shield the whole time, and then you get like 2 skins at the end.
Weird. I had no idea that was the case.
Yeah, because you pre-ordered it, so I think you started out with like 2 or 3 that you could just like cycle between at your leisure.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, like coming right here also from that blog post, it says Kratos' guardian shield is damaged during battle. Brock offers to craft an additional defense while he works on repairs. And you can, like you said, pick from these new different shields, either like the Stonewall shield right off the bat, which is specialized for soaking up attacks and striking back, and the Dauntless shield, which is more about like the high risk, high reward parries and whatnot. And like I imagine you'll be able to craft and pick a lot of different shields going through, but it is interesting to see that they're putting a lot more in to try to like just give you that freedom of choice and that like different play style that I imagine a lot more people are looking for. Not that, the first game didn't really have a lot of combat options. It did for sure, but I'm excited to see how they'll, you know, put more into it. Like, specifically this dauntless shield sounds right up your alley with the parrying and the dodging mechanics. Very from software of them, I'd say.
Yeah, they're actually one of the stats I think that like armor can have is like stun based. So you can actually build make a combat style that's centered around like parrying and like building up an enemy stun meter, which wasn't really a thing. Like you could always build up a stun meter, but there weren't like stats specific to increasing that. It was pretty much just like, yeah, you have to punch them a lot or use the shock arrows. But I think that's a good decision as some like just another playable option for people to have even more like combat variety.
Speaking of like Atreus and the shock arrows, like that's going to be one of my like biggest things that I'm looking to see like what they do with in God of War Ragnarok, because if you ask me, I think like easily the lamest part in the combat within the first one was Atreus and his arrows. I was not really good with the you could equip his different summons and whatnot, and throw some wolves at some baddies and some trolls and have them stampede around the Valkyries to stun them and whatnot. But like other than that, it was usually just me like spamming square like to try to get these arrows off against people. And like I don't know, I need more from that. That isn't just button mashing to have boy do a thing. Like I need a little more variety, and I need a little more for Atreus to do in this. And it sounds like he's going to be. It sounds like he's going to be like a lot more magical and animal based with the stuff he's doing in his arrows. So, I like as boy grows, I hope his abilities also grow. And I want to see that like highlighted in this game.
Yeah, I think his whatever his like skill tree looks like is going to be pretty important. I could see them doing something like, whereas in the first game, the armor he had equipped kind of determined not necessarily his move set, but just things that he would lean more towards in combat. Whereas if they take those, like 9 or 10 things and just make that like, oh, you can just unlock that like for him, and then regardless of the armor, like he can do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I say, give him as much as he can, like as he can possibly do, just to farther, again, more combat options.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like he's going to get some cool new arrows and stuff too. Like I'm reading here on that blog post with the preview, talks about him getting like sonic arrows and whatnot.
Oh yeah, I have heard about those.
Clearly ripping it off from the soon-to-be award-winning title Sonic Frontiers that'll come out just a day before. Trying to get in on that Sonic the Hedgehog hype, but we'll see how it turns out.
I think they mean more like like supersonic or subsonic. Like you're creating like and it's like a gravitational like well.
Nah.
Like they like levitate the enemies and then they come crashing down. But hey, maybe I don't know. Maybe it is just a Sonic reference.
I think it will be for sure. Aside from the like clearly obvious like combat and gameplay based upgrades that'll be coming in here, what else has got you excited? We can dive into the story in a little bit, but like, is there anything out there that you're really really looking for from this game? Like, what's gonna shake it up for you? What's gonna be the thing you think is like really cool? For me, it's enemy variety, hopefully, but that I imagine that'll come with the ability to explore all the different realms anyway.
Yeah, I think the option to have more side content, I think, which hopefully we will get from having additional realms to explore. But I think that is something I could see them leaning into, just because everyone was predicting and originally that this was going to be a trilogy of games, and we have now learned that this is the final game in the I don't know, what do you call it, a duopoly? What's the word for that?
A sequel?
No, but like the games together is called like three of something is a trilogy. I don't know what two of something is called, but yeah. So this is it. This is the finale here. So I could see them just in terms of getting as much content into it as possible, is just adding a bunch of side stuff to do. So that's what I'm looking towards. I really enjoyed all of like the side quests in the first game. So.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just more things to fight, So I could see them going into that a lot, and then with that we'll get a lot of hopeful enemy variety from the like trailers and gameplay they've already released. Like I have seen a lot of different types of enemies that weren't available in the first go around, and one of them was definitely looked like you were fighting in Muspelheim. So. I don't think the trials are going to be a thing. Like you're going to just get full access, hopefully, to a large chunk of that area.
That would be nice, that we don't just have to keep climbing up the same friggin' mountain again. Also, and again, I realize I keep pulling from the same source, but I've found like this has been, out of all of the different outlets who have been writing previews, I feel like this one is pretty extensive. But again, from the PlayStation blog, regarding exploration and side quests, fans who adore turning over every stone in the realm can rest assured that exploration is abundant and rewarded in the sequel. While venturing through a charming yet uninviting dwarven town, Kratos and Boy cross paths with a dwarf who has history with Mimir the Talking Head. The dwarf mentions mining rigs that Mimir once championed have caused a mess in these lands. If players choose to pursue this favor, they can correct Mimir's past wrongs for reward. And later, while navigating a canoe across a vast, brilliant blue lake, you spot pillars of black smoke billowing from these mines. So it sounds like similar to the first game, quests you pursue, and I feel like side quests are going to be a lot more abundant and like apparent in this. They will directly seemingly affect the environment around you and change things up, similar to how like when you blew up that statue of Thor like pretty early on in the first game, right? Like that statue was blown up moving forward. A lot of the big environment changes happened as a result of like the main quests in that game, but it seems like the side quests will drastically shake up the realms too, which I'm excited to see as well.
Yeah, I think something that people might not be considering is the fact that one of the main like subplots of the first game was that because the Valkyries were trapped, like all the undead were, like causing havoc, and that's why you don't run into any other characters aside from Brock and Sindri. But assuming you took up the challenge of killing all the Valkyries and Sigrun, that is technically fixed. So, Tom, you look perplexed.
How? Like, oh,
because you freed them.
Yes. Okay.
Right? So
I
I
see what you mean in that case.
There was no really interesting that was not a story beat, really. But you just got all of that info through Mimir and through like seeking out the Valkyries on your own.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was the reason that like whatever, I don't remember what they called it, but yeah, that's why like all the undead were like causing problems and were like the main enemies that you would fight like in the beginning of the game.
For sure.
That is supposedly fixed because you freed all the Valkyries. But I don't know how they're going to balance that with like Fimbulwinter. Like I don't know if the condition like that those conditions are worse than the undead. But assuming they're not worse, then I think we could see a lot more like NPCs and just interacting with quests that way, rather than all of our side quests were from the same two guys in the first game because there was just nobody around.
That's true. Yeah. That's a good point.
So I think that could be, a great benefit is just to like them introducing a new NPC like right off the bat in the first like couple minutes is I think a good sign that we're going to get a lot of those.
Yeah. I'm excited to see just like more characters in general in this game, and we'll kind of parlay into a little bit of a discussion about the story and how the plot might go. But like the first game, I've seen it compared to almost like a stage play, like a production in that aspect, right? Because there are so few characters, the world you're in is vibrant and lively, but also like almost eerily empty to a degree. You know what I'm saying? Like while you walk around that game, you're kind of tiptoeing it a bit because like anything could happen at any time. So I'm excited to hopefully see like a lot more of these realms and places you go like filled up with actual like people and characters and things that aren't trying to kill you all the time. You know, make it more of a filmic production versus like a stage play. But that definitely will, I think, elevate the story. Can only elevate the story is by putting you in different areas and showing you more of these different communities and people and places within the world, because the game is regarding the end of the world, so it affects everybody in these realms, not just our cast of like 8 characters or whatever they had in the first game.
Yeah, and that is, I guess that's interesting too, is to see like if everyone's aware that Ragnarok is coming. Like, what is the mindset of the average like civilian?
I'm curious to see, like, because correct me if I'm wrong, the winter only happens in Midgard, right? Theoretically, it doesn't affect the other realms, or am I incorrect in that respect?
I believe that you were correct in that, because like Helheim and Niflheim were like cold anyway,
That's true.
and Muspelheim's not gonna be affected. So I would assume
Yeah, that makes sense.
it's just a Midgard thing. But again, we haven't been to like 4 of the realms. Like it might, like maybe in the like Dwarven one, like there is an effect, like just based on the environment. But I don't know. At least in Midgard, like that, I think people are gonna be like losing their shit.
Oh, for sure, for sure. If there are any people left, right?
If there's any people left,
seems like everybody died.
Maybe everybody in Norway went to Greece because they saw that the world was gonna end.
Yeah, that. Everybody pieced out to go back to the old games.
Yeah, and then they realized, oh, Kratos already like fucked all the shit up here. So
that's amazing. Oh my god. Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see like where this story like takes place. Like the world building and stuff like that was easily one of my favorite parts about it. Like hearing Mimir tell you all these different stories about the different, Aesir, Vanir, and like even like spirits and like animals like the World Serpent and like Skull and Hati, like the two wolves. Like I'm expecting to see a lot of that. I don't know how spoilery this is or not, but in the preview it says that one of the like first boss fights you do is against a giant bear called Bjorn. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like Bjorn is a figure in Norse legend, right? Oh yeah. Bjorn Ironside was a Norse Viking chief and Swedish king. No, this isn't it. I thought Bjorn was like a bear, like a famous bear in Norse mythology. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, maybe. I think that there is probably some truth rooted in that.
Bjorn's transformation into a bear and the birth of Bodvar. Okay, so there is some Viking story. Oh yeah, right here. Vikings, the story behind Bjorn's bear fight. Okay, so I guess it's a whole thing. Anyway, regardless, I'm excited to see magic animals and maybe fight some. I think it'll be pretty cool. And again, just comes back to the enemy variety that I'm looking for. One of my favorite parts about the first game was the dragons. I saw a dragon in my playthrough in a side quest before I had encountered any like story wise, and I was like, holy shit, it's just there, and it rains lightning down from the heavens. Like, that was wild.
I guess we'll see, because apparently dragons are like fairly common, but obviously like the whole like undead rising like screwed up a lot of the probably typical aspects of Midgard. So maybe we will get back to normal, and but I don't know. We all the dragons in the first game, aside from like the main story ones, were like, oh no, these are actually like dwarves. Like,
well, that was only one. That was only
was that
one
just
of
the one?
dragons. Yeah,
I don't remember the.
I think there's a total of 4 dragons, right? Like, is it just the one Baldur's dragon, and then the 3 you have to like free?
Well, and the mountain one.
Oh, I guess that makes 5.
Which is like the one you technically fight. Everything else you either free, or Baldur's is just like you ride on his back and fall.
He's kind of a set piece.
Yeah.
That was sick though.
Yeah, that was a real nice what do you call it? A sequence of events.
Yeah, a set piece,
But but yeah, I guess we'll see what comes about with I'm looking at this article now, and one of the other boss fights is crocodile-like dragons.
Oh, the Dreki?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks cool. That's the giant like lizard croc thing that they've shown in the trailer a few times, where he's like holding his jaws open and shit like that. Like, that'll be sick.
Classic Kratos holding the mouth of a monster open.
Absolutely. You taking work off to play this game, homie?
No. The problem is it comes out like
on a Wednesday.
Right, which is the first day of the week that I'm off. So it's like I can't even take work off.
You'll just have,
because I won't have work. Yeah, I'll have work off. Well, I'll have to really be a good studious boy and get as much done as possible early, so that I can at least give it a proper go.
You'll figure it out. So now that we've kind of gone through like our hopes for the game itself, if you will, like, where do you think this story is going at the end of the day? That is the real meat and potatoes of what this game is about. The emotional beats, the characters, the plot line, the mystery of what's going to happen. Why is he Loki? What's going to happen? What's the deal? Where do you think it's all going? Do you think Kratos will turn into the World Serpent, which will then cause like a future time paradox where like Kratos, Atreus' son, is also his dad, birthed in a new fashion with his young child giant bride?
Where's that theory coming from?
I have seen that theory before, because like the World Serpent has like a very similar, like the red eye paint to Kratos. You haven't seen that?
No.
Some reasons I think Jormungandr might be Kratos are because A, time travel is a thing in this universe, and B, Jormungandr has certain similarities to Kratos, such as their pale skin, red markings, and facial hair, with Jormungandr's
that is such a stretch.
Looking like the one Kratos used to sport before he went full dad beard.
No. No, that's no. Not a good theory at all.
No, you don't think he's gonna like be reincarnated into the snake?
No.
Do you think we're gonna see the birth of the snake?
Yes. In some, or the like, the snake will be introduced into the world somehow. Definitely in this game. Just because, there's the Loki being, or Atreus being Loki, is like causes a whole bunch of issues that they have to resolve in terms of the creation of a bunch of major figures in the mythos.
I'm very like interested to see like where it's all gonna go. There's a lot of different theories out here that I've been reading about. One that I very much hope comes true is that like eventually we steal the hammer from Thor when we inevitably murder Thor, because like that's 100% gonna happen.
I think it's more likely that they just like destroy the hammer.
You think so?
I don't. You having the Leviathan axe and the hammer is like they both do the same thing.
What if Atreus gets the hammer?
Yeah, but isn't he not worthy? Wasn't that a whole thing? You have to be worthy of wielding the weapon.
Isn't that just a Marvel thing?
I'm just testing you.
I mean, I don't know. I know for a fact the idea of like Thor being able to yeet his hammer and call it back to him like that is completely Marvel invented.
Oh
Like,
no, that was in the like trailer.
Yes, but that concept is a Marvel invented thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like Thor wasn't running around calling his hammer back in ancient Norse texts.
no, because they wouldn't have been ready for something like that. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we will acquire other weapons that we can use. I don't know how much effect that will have, because I think the Leviathan Axe and Blades of Chaos are more than enough to, base skill trees around. But yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's definitely a lot of people are going to die in this game for sure. It just
Do you think Kratos is going to bite the bullet? Based on that mural?
Initially, I thought so, but now that I think about it, I don't see why they would do that. Because if you think about major like gaming figures, that span multiple games, like none of them die. It's just they're too much of a moneymaker to just throw away. So
they killed Joel in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, but that's one game. He was in one game and plus 30 minutes. Like Kratos has been in 5 games.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
Like spanning across a decade. So
the dude can only get so much older, though. You know what I'm saying? Like his knees are already hurting him. In God of War 2018, you can tell he's lost a little pep in his step from being the young-blooded ghost of Sparta.
Well, that's the thing. If they are gonna kill him, that would hopefully mean that Atreus has developed so much to the point where it's okay, he's the new protagonist, and people actually can get behind that. Yeah. If they wanted to do another game. But that unless they spend a ton of time doing that with Atreus, then I think they're just going to keep him around. But
for sure. Do you think Atreus I think it's way more likely that Atreus dies in this story. Way more likely.
That would be incredibly sad. Worse than Kratos dying, because that would be the whole point of the first 2 games is Atreus, his son.
He's gonna sacrifice himself to save the 9 realms. It's bound to happen.
No, Kratos would never. Kratos would physically harm Atreus before he would allow him to sacrifice himself.
And then in 2032, it's gonna be Kratos and Tyr go to Egypt and
Kratos adopts a daughter, and then turns out she has special powers, and we run the same thing again.
And that's the next leg of the franchise. I'm excited to see that. I think there's gonna definitely be some sort of teasing, hinting with Tyr going to the different faiths. That little kind of Easter eggy point when you're going through Tyr's temple and you find that mural board with all the different signs of the faith. It was Celtic, Egyptian, I think Japanese was in there. The Omega from the Greek gods were in there, and he's I know that one. But I think there's going to be some nonsense with that when you inevitably free Tyr from his prison.
That's why initially people were oh, this is going to be a trilogy, because they're going to go somewhere else. In one of the
I think
games.
that'll just be the next leg of the games, if I had to be honest.
I think if any character, the character that's most likely to die, aside from the people you're gonna kill through the course of the story, I think is Freya. And I think Freya is going to jump in front of one of our protagonists and prevent them from getting hurt by something. But we're talking more endgame. That's my prediction.
I don't know. I don't think she cares about Kratos enough to do it. She would have to be doing it to save Atreus, if anything.
I think I think like because I think she still hates like Odin more than Kratos. So if like Odin was going to harm Atreus, I could see her like stepping in.
I'm excited to see Odin too. It's a shame they didn't pull in Sir Anthony Hopkins to reprise the role, because that would have been awesome.
I mean, yeah, but then they would have had to have pulled in, like
They don't have to pull in anyone else. They just need to pull in.
That would be a little weird. You're gonna bring in the guy who plays Odin, but not the guy who plays Thor.
Yeah. Yeah.
They literally took Thor's like endgame design, and we're like, oh yeah, Potbelly Thor. That's what we're gonna go with.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Thor's like. I feel like Thor's gonna be like, I don't know. They've just described him as this like homicidal psychopath throughout the last game. So I'm very interested to see what like a genocidal fat maniac with a hammer looks like. Like
a magic hammer, mind you.
Yes.
And lightning
arguably
powers.
The strongest of the hammer.
Yeah.
He is the strongest Avenger, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have our hands full with him. Yeah, I also the point in which they like introduce those major like antagonist characters. I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna be something like I don't know if it's gonna start very similarly to the like end of the first game where you go to sleep and have that dream and Thor's just like at your doorstep.
I think that'll honestly probably be like how the game opens. If I had to guess, I think the game is gonna open like pretty immediately from where the last one left off, and then you'll see some kind of like time jump to now you've got teenage Atreus.
To puberty boy.
Yeah. Because if you look, so my question for you, right? How long do you think this game is gonna take to beat? Like the first game, the main story is around like 21 hours via howlongtobeat.com. But I don't know. Like you said, this is going to be a meaty game. They debated for a long time about whether or not to split it up between 2 games or just keep it as one. So they have a lot they got to cram in here. So like how much content do you think we're talking? Do you think they double it? Do you think this is like a 100-hour completionist game?
21 hours is not factoring in any side quests, right?
No, that's just the completionist. It says like all, so main story 21, main plus the side quest is like 32. To 100% it's 50, but it says like give or take, if you like a good meaty playthrough of this game will take you about like 30 hours.
Is that just on the default difficulty?
Yeah, this is just howlongtobeat.com. This is what we're going off of.
My playtime on that game is, I think, is like approaching 100 hours.
Your playtime on that game is going to look different if you like New Game Plus it. You've also...
Yeah, but I did like maybe 10 hours max into like the New Game Plus playthrough that I dropped from consideration.
All right, that's fair.
Like I was easily at like 75 hours, like base game. Now, like part of that is, I think the Muspelheim, Niflheim stuff can definitely skew that. Like, I don't know what they consider as like completing those areas. Like, is it just climbing the mountain one time?
This is probably just like basic difficulty, you know.
That too could add some.
It does get hard though. Like that, like very first Draugr you fight with the axe, like takes like 7 tries, like right out the gate.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've said this a million times. Like on God of War difficulty, the hardest part of the game is like the opening 2 hours, just because you have nothing unlocked, and that's why I was just doing axe throw recall on repeat for 2 hours because I couldn't let anything get close to me. But I would have said this would have been closer to 100, just because like I knew it took me like close to that, but. If they're saying it technically should be like 30 to complete, then I don't know. Maybe it is like a 50-hour endeavor. Like I think there's going to be way more side content.
Yeah.
So, and then you factor that in with there's probably going to be more story beats because there's more to cover. I could see the time like doubling. you know,
I'd be kind of happy.
or close
about
to. Like, if they're really considering two separate games, I think the story's got to be lengthy enough to like justify that. So I think almost double would be fair.
I certainly hope it's a bigger game because I've now paid $70 for this game. Where
You want your extra $10 worth of gaming?
yeah, if that isn't double the amount of time it takes to play it, double the content, then I feel ripped off, if I'm being honest.
Well, I don't think that math checks out.
No, not at all. Well, it's just so different because, like, I had to buy this one where I didn't have to buy the first one because not only did you later on get it with like PS Plus and whatnot, but the way I initially bought this game is I pre-ordered the better game that came out in 2018, Marvel's Spider-Man from Best Buy, and that game showed up in my mailbox. It was great, and then like 3-4 days later, a second copy of the game showed up for no reason whatsoever. So I went to reddit.com/GameSwap and traded my unopened copy of Spider-Man for an unopened copy of God of War because I was like, I'll play this at some point. Why not? Everybody says it's pretty good. Q2, not playing it until like
for many years,
3-4 years later. Yeah. Well worth the play though, and now it's on PC. It's everywhere for you folks. This game will come to PC eventually too, which is pretty cool. PlayStation's being a lot more thorough about that, so it makes me happy to see that, you know, games are just becoming more accessible across the board to people. You know what I'm saying? Including God of War. You know, I love the PS5, don't get me wrong, but the ability for people to play this wherever they want is just a good thing in my book.
Wherever they want?
Yeah, wherever they want. Maybe it'll be on your phone someday.
Did you imagine major AAA game release that's just like mobile?
They've like put like AAA games of the past onto mobile at this point. The weirdest one of those for me was Final Fantasy 15. They literally basically remade the entire game in cute little chibi style for mobile and put it on phones, but it is like pretty much the same game. Like combat, crafting, exploration, all the shit. Like it's all in there. It's just now they're teeny little cutesy characters instead of realistic looking Japanese ones. I don't know. Yeah. But maybe God of War will be there someday too. Maybe we'll get chibi Kratos.
Anything is possible, I suppose.
Oh man. But yeah, man. I don't know. I'm excited to see where this game goes. It's coming very soon, about 2.5 weeks from the day we're recording this, on November 9th, 2022. And yeah, man. Got any final thoughts on it?
Final thoughts? I
Is this
think
one gonna make you cry?
Is it gonna make me cry? I would think so.
Are you a crier during it? Did?
Yeah,
I don't know. If
I told
cried at the
you.
first
We
one.
didn't we discuss that during one of the episodes, like games that like elicited emotional reactions from us.
I think so. I forget which point.
The ending.
Oh yeah, the ending's definitely
when you're like
sad.
at the mountaintop and you're like spreading the ashes. I was just
that
like,
was a beautiful moment.
It was like, so much has been done to get to this point.
And he's like, oh, I'm finally free. I have nothing left to hide. And then boy's just like, come on, Dad.
And you're like making physical contact with your son. It's just like,
it's
barriers
a
breaking
thing.
down.
And then you find out your son isn't who you actually thought he was the whole time, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Well, he just had a different name.
Yeah, I know.
He's still boy.
It's gonna be wild though. I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I think if this game has any shot of overtaking Elden Ring as game of the year, I think it's just going to be the story is driving that home.
I think the story and the recency bias, but I don't know. people like you are still playing Elden Ring. So,
but many people are still playing Elden, and like a DLC is going to drop in the next month and a half because of recency bias. They're like, hey, remember us? Boom! Right before the Game Awards, DLC. Get back in there.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see for sure. It'll definitely be nominated. I think it'll probably pull a big sweep, but for my own favor, I'm gonna be voting for this title, God of War Ragnarok, here.
We haven't even played it yet. How can you give it your vote?
Because it's not gonna be a bad game.
Dude, what if they pull The Last of Us and kill Kratos in the first half hour?
That doesn't make it a bad game, Lucas.
That would make this a terrible game.
No, that would be insane. That would be like literally insane. And then you just play the rest of the game like not knowing what's gonna happen. Like how does the end of the Norse world affect a Greek god? He's like the wild card. He's the wild factor. He's not part of all of this. He's the outsider.
Well, I mean, he gave birth to Loki. I feel like he's probably pretty cemented at this point.
Yeah, I just want to learn more about his wife and how his wife probably manipulated him into becoming part of this prophecy and one day turning into a giant time-traveling snake.
Why, do you think she sexually bewitched him?
No, I mean, I don't know. I know there's like a comic out there from Dark Horse that kind of details the in-between between him leaving, basically like destroying all of...
Oh, is that in the book you had me get?
That's not...
I still have yet to read that, and I think now I probably should get that done before the game comes out.
Yeah, I'm probably going to finish reading the book because it's like a pretty telltale start to finish, this is what happens of it. But they do have a comic series aside from that is basically Kratos leaving Greece and going to Midgard, and a bear is attacking him in that too.
Yeah. I think Kratos just hates wildlife. It's really what
lots
it comes
of
down to.
bears, in fact, lots of them. And I think he meets Faye in that and whatnot. Oh, there are a lot of bears on the covers of these comics. Interesting.
Maybe that's Kratos' spirit animal.
Yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I'm excited though.
Oh,
but,
before we leave off, speaking of that, Atreus is definitely gonna have turn into animal powers in this game.
For sure. For sure.
That's I forgot. That is super hype, but we'll wait and see. I feel like that's probably gonna be a decent ways into the game.
I figured that Freya would pretty much teach him that because we can already know she does that, but I don't know. I'm excited to see where Freya winds up in all of this. I think if anything, she'll I don't know, man. She was pretty pissed. That was a big monologue about how she was gonna murder them all in the worst ways imaginiciable.
Mm-hmm. And then showcase their corpse.
I'm glad we won't have to go through a period of Atreus being a little asshole.
I think we're 100% gonna have that again.
You think so?
Yeah, they're not all patched up perfect. He still doesn't know a lot of Kratos' past. They're gonna have more father son conflict in this one.
That would be interesting.
But then it won't be a whiny kid. It'll be a pubescent teen. So maybe it'll be a little more bearable.
Some would argue that's way less bearable.
It could be. It could definitely be less bearable, but the first game version was definitely bad. It was
yeah.
Oh my god! Just slap this kid around, please.
Oh man. Well, with that, you've heard our hopes, you've heard our hype, you've heard our own little preview of what we're excited to see about God of War Ragnarok coming in just a few weeks. And you best believe that once we've played through this game, we gonna be talking about it. It might be a little bit because, we're both busy people and we don't do this professionally. So as much as I would love to get paid to play through this game, I get paid to do other things, and I have to do that when I have time, as Lucas also will be doing.
Yeah, and presumably this game will be a lot longer than the first game, so that's even more time it'll take for us to fully, give it its just due playthrough.
We'll get there, though. We will get there.
Hopefully before the Game Awards, but we'll see. That's only about a month or so to get through it.
We'll see. But in the meantime, folks, keep it locked. Keep tuning in. I know this was not a guest episode, but we look to have more of those going forward. But keep it locked. Our Instagram's kind of sparse right now, but we're going to get better at that. I promise.
How's the Twitter looking? We have one, right?
We do. We
Okay.
need to tweet things. Until next time, I'm Tom. That's Lucas. I'm going to shoot under 30 today.
Oh,
My words.
okay. Good. Best of luck.
Bye-bye.